What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Comic Art Channel. We're doing a very special market and auction talk today after a pretty long hiatus, it feels like. But we got our regular Mr. YoKuri back and uh, very special guest, hopefully to add,
We'll
a
see.
little bit more class and
Well, I don't know about that.
knowledge to the group. Uh, the master artist, the illustrious Mr. Troy Nixey. Thanks for coming on, Troy.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. I was sort of laughing to myself earlier because I kind of insisted that you bring me on. So
Oh, I'm honored to have you on. And, you know, uh, Yo and I, we try, not to just keep it about money or whatever, and
Mhm.
also, talk about the art. But, sometimes I know myself, I'm a little bit lacking in being able to kind of discuss it. And so, it's great that we can have you on to elevate the group and raise
It's
our average a little bit.
Yeah, we
it's
got a
gonna be
real live
fun.
artist in the house who's also a Bears fan, as you can see.
Yeah, we were just talking about football, so
Yeah,
yeah.
we you missed a good conversation.
Big day for the Bears, and anything that weakens the Eagles, I'm very supportive of. And so uh, happy at all the Chicago signings today.
Exactly.
So congrats, Troy.
Well, thank you. I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take whatever I can. And
So
this
we
will be fun. This will be fun. Sorry, because I don't I'm not actually like a member, so I have no idea what stuff went for when I was
oh, okay.
going through it last night. So that'll be interesting.
There's no membership; it's public. But I guess yeah. After the auction, you need to log in to
Yeah, yeah.
actually see the prices. Um, and yeah, uh, you know, some quick maybe thoughts about the auction. I know you weren't, following it that closely, Troy, but um, the prices were pretty strong. Uh,
Mm,
I think at least for the prime pieces, I felt like the first day was just very strong. The last day, which it was only 2 day auction for the art wise. Um, Sunday, it felt pretty weak. It felt like a weekly heritage auction, just because a lot of the pieces were filler. From my perspective, a lot
how
of
do they
quality, but it was an auction where lots of lots were won with uh, pre kind of proxy bids, right? And so
yeah.
they got into the bidding, the live bidding, and people had their kind of set limit in there, and those numbers were good enough. Usually a hot auction, you get pushed beyond those kind of initial proxy bids, and then there's some extra live bidding with people kind of on the site. But I felt like there was a lot of proxy bid winners and a lot of cut bid winners. I don't know. Yo, did you notice that at all? Or
Yeah, I think I only paid attention the first day, so I was absent on the on some of the subsequent days. But you definitely do notice that auction fatigue on final day. But so also the 25% juice is something to also
oh yeah,
mention.
oh
So
yeah.
instead of their standard 20%, Heritage charges 25 for this auction. I don't
Ooh.
really know why, but
Like I saw some video of, I guess there was some partnership with Gallery. Is it Gallery 9 or one of the French galleries
mhm.
where they were showing a lot of the art at that gallery framed up, like there was a full-on exhibition um, in Paris of the art that they were auctioning off here. So
Okay.
I don't know if that extra travel and
I was gonna say,
marketing
yeah,
to the
maybe I have to, yeah, send it
yeah.
to just
Yeah,
have
So
the press
Troy, were you
release.
gonna say something before?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just curious, how do they weight it between the 2 days? The 2 days, do they try to put premium pieces on both days, or like because I'm actually not completely sure how it works. Do they set minimums and you
The
I
less
know?
you
think
know,
they
the better, Troy. The less you know. Do not sign up. Do not give them your information, your credit card number. Just stay away from this. Don't go down our path. We don't want you to be a degenerate like us.
I think they load them up early. So they,
Yeah,
the early days they try to keep it smaller with the best whatever
gotcha. Okay.
pieces, and that they think they're basically gonna bring the most in.
Hmm.
They're not always right. Sometimes something blows up in day 2, day 3. But yeah, I think most like signature auctions, they have like a platinum night where they have like 20 to 30 prime pieces, and then like a couple more days of you know subsequently worse and worse pieces, right?
Yeah.
um but they're all, I mean, you get into like one of their like quarterly or bi-monthly now basically auctions. You know, those are kind of the more prime pieces as opposed to
Hmm.
the every week, every Wednesday, couple few hundred pieces, being
Yeah.
auctioned off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll occasionally you'll see like a big piece slip into one of those weekly auctions, but there are no secrets in the hobby, so they don't. It tends not to go unnoticed, and they pretty much
Yeah.
goes for the same price. Um, but hey, is that you see that Robert Bailey Star Wars thing? Was that one of Mike's?
I don't know. I'm assuming
Oh,
it might have been,
yeah.
and I
Click on
actually
it.
it
Oh,
was on the last
wait.
day. The
Let's
last
look it
day,
up.
the auction started at like 7 a.m. over here, Pacific
Yeah,
time,
wait.
right? And it's just like,
Click on that picture again. Hold on a second. What the hell? Han's
it's
seen
like
better days. Oh my
He
god.
has. He has. He's
It's too many, Cantina cheeseburgers. What's
Luke
going
is
on with
looking quite
that?
concerned for his health.
He used all his chi on drawing Luke, and then he just like
hey, it's a
that
candid,
looks like
man. It's
me.
a
It looks like
candid
me with a vest.
illustration.
Yeah, like fat
Hey, I
me.
thought it was a great piece, and sadly I woke up at like 7 something, and so it was early
Okay.
on that Sunday, and so I missed it.
That wasn't one of the better ones. I've seen better. I've seen
Yeah,
better
yeah, there was a
ones.
lot of
Yeah.
good ones.
Yeah, the chubby Han is not good.
There's a lot of really nice stuff. It's some
Yeah.
stuff that came up that I was actually really surprised was available.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Mhm.
of Mobius stuff that I was just blown away by, and to me, like that's something that you just don't get rid of. Of course, I know people that have bought some Mobius, and but yeah, like just seeing the Blueberry pages, just which I picked a couple, was it made me happy in a sense that they're real tangible things that people own.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
sad that
already
they
have
decide to
50 of
sell.
these. I must, this is my worst one. I will sell it.
yeah,
All right, let's you guys want to start taking a look at some of the lots
sure.
we've chosen? Um so Troy, you picked this page,
I
Jim
did.
Woodring, Frank,
Yes, yes, and Jim's
and
great because he'll do little like if you follow him on Instagram, he'll do little drawings and just post them for sale. You just have to be really fast to get
hmm,
one. But there's something really special about his work beyond his incredible line work that he does. His inking with the brush is just impeccable. I think that most cartoonists would agree. Like I really do think he's kind of an artist's artist in that regard. That other cartoonists look at him as like he has this really special line that he can create. But it's just I love the juxtaposition of his work of kind of the absurd cartooniness with sometimes really horrific horrific stories
hmm.
or just the clash of the two working very harmoniously, I think, and just sort of following this character as he wanders through these landscapes, getting into these really bizarre adventures, and of course, all wordless. That's
Yeah.
the other unique aspect of his work. And yeah, it's just really remarkable. And it's a really nice page. I mean, that's the thing with his work is that you can admire it from across the room. You don't have to get really close. He's really smart about spotting blacks, and like I said, he's got a heavier line, but he knows what he's doing with that brush. It's really something to see.
I definitely have my eye on this. And it felt like a lot of people did. If you look at the price, I know, or I've heard that Scott Eater reps Woodring,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know, for some reason I imagine the prices were a little bit lower than this, and so not that a lot of this stuff comes up at Heritage these days. I haven't
Hmm.
seen a ton. Um, you know, I mean, here's some right here, but uh, just talking about kind of like Frank work, maybe more of it's coming out recently. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing because I don't think that it's scarce. Like I said, he sells original drawings on his Instagram account,
Hmm.
so there, and he's quite prolific. It seems. I mean, there's a lot of his. He's created a lot of work,
Yeah, yeah,
and then some of those prices, like for some of those bigger, more intricate pieces, I think are like that's crazy. Like 40, what's that? $4,500? Like that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
these are slightly larger, I think, than what's
Hmm.
sold, but they're not like giant, enormous,
Not
like
huge, no, but
12 by 19 is,
yeah.
substantial, but um, yeah, I don't know the market. I actually only just recently bought a couple of his Frank books, and so,
They're
uh,
fun.
yeah,
Did you
yeah,
enjoy them? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, always kind of put it off. I don't know why. For me, the anthropomorphic stuff, I tend to just like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll get to it later or whatever. But these days, I've I guess become a little bit more open to yeah, that.
And I can't remember that other character's name, the pig guy. But he's sort of a recurring character in his strips.
It's like a trippy Max Fleischer cartoon.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
what if you had to guess? I mean, what size brush do you think he's using?
Oh, geez. Now when I did ink with a brush back in the day, I used to use a 00, like a size 00,
Mhm,
Series 7 Windsor Newton.
mhm,
He is probably inking with something larger than that. It might be a 1. I've never
yeah,
seen him work. There's probably stuff out there. I'm probably
mhm.
completely wrong, but
He like, on that
uh,
tongue, he's getting, like, that dark tongue that the guy's falling
mhm.
into, like, that looks pretty like a pretty fat line.
But you can do like if you can do a lot with a brush if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
And he does, so he
yeah,
might be able to get away with something a little bit larger. Because I'm
mhm,
looking at like Frank's feet here, and it's just like he's doing that all in one move. I
mhm.
don't think he's going at it in chunks at all. It's
Yeah,
just a nice flow. And so I would bet he's probably using a 0 or a 1.
mhm. Hmm,
Maybe I'll ask him. I don't know him
yeah.
at all, but I don't know if he responds to questions on his
Yeah,
Instagram account.
sorry, it degenerated into tool talk.
No, but he creates these really lovely textures. Sort of sort of the wavy line to create weight
Mhm.
is really fun. Like he's doing it in the shadows, and he's
Yeah,
almost using the same weight line weight on the shadow under this beast as he is, on the cliffs above
mhm,
its head. But there's a nice differential
yeah,
that he creates by leaving the white space as well. So
Mm,
yeah,
but also he creates a real intimacy with his work because of it as well as I mean that he's creating distance but it's still like it almost feels like things are happening on a stage, like a
mhm.
stage play rather than like a huge vista that Mobius creates. So
Right, right.
yeah.
Interesting. Yes. Yeah, I think I know someone else that had their eye on this. I don't think they won,
Hmm.
but
He just got one on Comic Connect, didn't he?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, probably cheaper over there. Fewer eyes. Everyone forgot about that auction. So yeah, I mean,
Heritage is the big one though, right? Like
oh
that's the
yeah,
one. Yeah,
Yep.
oh yeah.
yeah,
Most eyeballs. They've got the best tech platform, so it really
yeah.
encourages anytime browsing with the app.
Yeah.
You can just kind of
Although I will
scroll and
say,
scroll and
Comic
scroll.
Connect has gotten a lot of great pieces lately, and then they updated their whole kind of bidding platform or
Well, they
whatever.
did.
I mean, they used
Okay.
to be horrendous. Like you couldn't
Yeah.
even find things, So
Okay.
No, well,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not helpful.
Oh, huge improvement over there.
Mhm.
All right, next piece. Toth. Creepy.
Oh, can't go wrong with Toth.
Yo.
Yeah, this is really, really gorgeous one. I don't know the story, but it's just so striking, the way that, his use of shadow, he uses it in almost every
Hmm.
single panel, to great effect. So he's just thinking about light sources, right? Which when you think about a lot of comic book artists, maybe they're just, you know, drawing for color or drawing it kind of flat or static. I mean, these are fully rendered
Yeah,
three-dimensional environments with clearly defined light sources, and he just makes it look so easy. And
his acting is remarkable.
yeah,
I mean, just look at the character in the last panel coming in,
yeah.
on the
Storming
right
in.
side. Yeah, like
Yeah,
he doesn't need to say anything. You know exactly what that's
yeah,
about, and
yeah.
just his weight. Like his characters are very natural. They look like they're holding their place in the environment that they're in, and
Mhm.
I mean, he's a master. I mean, he's one of the masters of comics. It's beautiful.
I
I don't
love
know. Is
I
this
love
like is this wash or duotone board? I'm assuming it's wash.
It looks like wash to me,
yeah.
and there's a grease pencil that they
Yeah.
used to use that you can get some texture with.
Oh,
You're
And
cool.
talking about like these.
yeah, yeah. So I'm guessing it's probably a combination of that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm sort of as I'm squinting, I probably look ridiculous as I'm squinting at the screen to look at it. But, that's sort of
Yeah. If we
that's
were worried
what I
about
got.
looking ridiculous, we would do this. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a phenomenal page. I was the underbidder on this page.
Oh, sorry.
Um, yeah, I mean, it was just like getting up there, and
Why so weak, Jason?
I'm just weak.
Yeah.
Look, you know, it's like it's seriously this hobby is like it's like getting a fix, and like
Oh
oh,
gosh.
the temptation is so great, and like oh, I shouldn't be buying. I shouldn't even be bidding on some of this stuff.
Oh man. Sorry to
Um,
torture you with it. I mean, it is you see sometimes his stuff is just sort of open. It's not there's
Mhm.
no like there's no, grayscaling. But just really wonderful and the camera angles, that he
Oh yeah.
selects. I mean, just the way he frames um, everything. I mean, the guy is just incredible. There's like a wealth of detail in the third panel. Like, how do you make it read so clear when you got
And
all
it,
this clutter in
yeah.
there, right? It should look cluttered, but because he knows where to put the white on the floor and then outline it with black around there and just how to frame everything, he knows where to direct your eye
I've
in the
always thought
perfect
that
way.
he's drawn like Hitchcock directed,
Yeah,
and
that's a great analogy. Yeah.
knowing when to pull you in and push you out. Like he's a master storyteller. Like beyond his ability just to draw, his
Mhm.
panel to panel is just uh, incredible. It's amazing, and it's funny because I'll talk to comic buddies, and I mean everybody reveres Alex Toth, and he's not as famous as we all think that he should be, and the common sort of rationalization of that thought is that it's just because he didn't have like a solid run on something. You know, when you talk about Alex Toth, it's like, oh, he's he's a remarkable artist. He, all the things he's done, comics, animation, but it's not like, oh yeah, when he did that, you know, 40 issues of this,
Yeah.
like that really held him up.
Yeah.
To people who maybe aren't aficionados of the craft of making comics. So, yeah.
I loved his Zorro. They
Oh,
had
yeah.
those 2 editions, 2 volumes that came out sometime in the 80s. I just loved that. Loved that so much.
Troy just sent me
I sent you one.
one of his Zorro books.
Oh, really?
Thanks so
Wow.
much,
Yeah, I had
Troy.
one. Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow.
Yeah, I have some. When you were talking about it, it's like I have a bunch of Toast stuff, and of all the Toast stuff that I have, it's like, well, the Zero stuff's nice, but like I really like this other stuff, and so I had no problem sending it to Jason.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Troy. I mean, I think even in the art collecting hobby, he did not fully get his due as far as just when you're talking about price, right? When you're talking about kind of price respect, I think everyone understood kind of how skilled and important he was, but I think for a long time, his stuff was, attainable at very reasonable, if not extremely cheap prices, and so if we're talking about like, 5,000 now for this one page, right? And that's like, I don't know, 4 times more than it would have cost you like 5 years ago, right? 3 to 5 years ago. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to see that legendary artists like Toth eventually, hopefully, the cream rises to the top. It took decades, but I don't know.
Well, and he did a lot too. I mean, he worked. I mean, like I said, like in animation and in comics, like he produced a lot of images, and so I have no idea if people hold on to Toth or if his work is pretty available in auctions. Like when I have looked at stuff seems to pop up. I don't know if that has anything to do with where pages go. The availability of them. I don't know.
He's had some pages popping up recent. Some of this Flash stuff.
Okay.
In the weeklies. This is this year, January. So here, like,
oh yeah,
9, 10 grand.
That Zorro cover
went for a lot of money.
I mean, but is this a lot?
I'd rather have a panel. I'd rather have that panel page versus that cover. But that's just me.
This page.
Yeah, frame it, put it in a museum. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I mean his Warren stuff was fantastic.
Yeah. And a famous Grouch, which is a fun bit of trivia.
Yeah. That's a nice way of saying he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Actually, I love watching like documentaries.
Oscar the asshole. That doesn't really play, does it?
I love watching documentaries because as kind of mean as he may have been, it seems like people that interacted with him seem to really like love him. I don't know, right? Like there was this like weird.
He's lucky he could draw better than everybody else.
Yeah.
No one want to talk to his ass otherwise. Yeah, have you ever seen him take down Steve Rude? Oh my god.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Steve Rude sent him this thing like, oh hey, gosh, just would you critique my work? And Toth was like,
yes.
He took out.
Wasn't it like pages long?
No, he took out the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Just ended his life. It's so sad. It's like he's not that bad. I mean, damn, he's Steve Rude.
I mean, would you consider it constructive criticism? I mean, why? The fact that he didn't even like take the time to just go that deep.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
No,
and I
I would,
mean, he solicited it. It's like, hey, will you look at me? It's not like all of a sudden he just, hey, wow, Alex Toll sent me a letter.
yeah.
What?
Dear Steve, I read Nexus 12. It was
Yeah.
awful. Yeah.
Stop drawing now.
Yep. So masterful work.
Yes.
Good price. Congrats to the winner, man. Fantastic page. All
I
right,
like
next.
I like the yellowing on that paper.
What year is this? 75.
75, yeah.
Maybe this was framed
It probably
in the
was.
sun. Little Nemo, 1909, Windsor McKay. This I was very serious about wanting to go for this, and I was willing to sell a lot of my, not a lot of my collection, but at least a few major pieces to essentially trade for this if I could get it under like 100, around 100,
Yeah.
after like tax and everything. And it ended up going
I think it was
for like
109.
109. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the next bid would have taken it to like 112. This was a cut bid. And the next bid would have taken it to about 112, and it would have probably been like about 120, 121 after taxes and all that.
It's only
But
5,000 per panel. It's pretty reasonable.
bid
Is it
for you.
working on my phone? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you see?
I can. Everything's very small, but I can see, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know, in 1909, how your cartooning was, but I just feel like this strip had to be something new, I'm talking about this particular strip as far as
Yeah.
perspective, the depth being created. You have kind of multiple levels of scenery, right? Like left to right, right to left. Yeah, I mean,
I think he must have light boxed some of these images because they look the poses look pretty spot on, but I love how the figures in the foreground undulate like they this wave pattern. And
Yeah.
each
yeah,
tier, it's like it adds to the motion from left to right,
yes.
and I just think it's such a cool effect.
It's so
Yeah, he
cute
was.
too, you know?
Yeah. Well, even back then, he was really well known for, because he obviously worked huge. Like his originals are massive. Does it have the dimensions
Yes.
on this? I'm curious.
We're looking at 22 by 28 image area.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
that's
Great.
about right. You're maybe you're adding an inch on both
Wall power.
ends, but
Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. But yeah, I mean, cause, and he sort of was one of the pioneers of animation as well, because he used to do his vaudeville act with Gertie the dinosaur, right? And he would act against the screen with the animated dinosaur. So he was, back in the 1900s, early 1900s, he was well beyond his time then, and introducing sort of this new way of cartooning that just wasn't really seen. I mean, they were doing a lot of intricate stuff back then, but he was really elevating it with just his locations, his architecture was just unbelievable.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought this strip was just fantastic, like
A real piece of comic history. Jason, you
yeah.
definitely have it's like you're trying to build your own museum. You've got
I'm trying to attain YoKuri
no,
status.
no, you gotta respect I'm very pretty narrow in my focus, but you really span the decades, the entire history of comic art. We all come to it with like sort of different goals and objectives of what we want to achieve. But I just I think I mean, that's my perception of you, Jason, is that you want the greats of the medium.
Oh yeah,
You'd love to
that's true.
have a piece from each of the greats.
That's true. And I just thought this is just like, you know, a one of a kind example. I know there's lots of Little Nemo examples, but of those, I think this is, you know, one of a kind as far as quality,
Mhm.
and probably, you know, probably not like a good deal, you know, at this price. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably a good
He
deal at
said
this
it.
price. I just didn't have the
Yeah,
the balls to, you know,
yeah.
do what I would have to do if I won, you know.
Would you
Um,
rather have a Toth complete story or this one? The
Mm.
creepy Toth complete?
I would
yes, yes,
personally, I'd rather have the McKay,
yeah.
just because he's someone that's always really resonated with me um, early on, just in terms of inspiration. So
Hmm,
Yeah, I mean, it's just fantastic, you know? It's just
yeah,
like,
gorgeous.
you know, they hit the wrong guy, start to run, and then
Hmm,
boom, you know,
hmm.
wakes up, you know?
have you seen the Antiques Roadshow episode where a guy found, what was it, two or three original Windsor McKays in his grandpa's barn?
Oh,
No
wow. No,
way.
Yeah,
That's
those
yeah.
are
amazing.
See,
I
it's
used
on
to
Google.
love
Like if
that
you did,
show, man.
yeah, if you
I used to
Google
watch that show all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Antiques Roadshow Windsor McKay, it'll come up, and the guy has no idea what he
yeah.
has, like no idea. It's wonderful. It's amazing.
Oh, you know what I hate is when they're like all disappointed. They like think that they're gonna
Oh
like
yeah,
pay off their mortgage, and it's like,
yeah,
and I think, this is pretty mediocre. This is a pretty third tier example of this and that. It's worth $300, and they're just like,
yeah.
oh, it's
Or they
just
have like this little pewter statue that their grandpa's always had or something, and then
yeah,
they just
yeah,
then the host just pulls the head off, and it's like, oh, it was a liquor bottle. It's worth about $12.
yeah. Oh, agony and ecstasy. That show is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, hey, imagine those people that had these and, you
Hmm.
know, in their attic and just tossed them, you know?
Yeah, well, now you
Man,
got the
Oh
internet,
man.
man. That show is irrelevant now. Everybody knows what everything.
Yeah.
You just
yeah, yeah,
Google it.
yeah.
You just Google it. Ugh.
No, I mean, these days you never know, you know? I mean, some people just don't care, you know? Like they don't
Mhm.
care to know what it is that they have, you know? It's just
Mhm.
yeah, so, you know, 110 grand for a piece of history. I don't know, you
Or
know?
your children's college education.
Actually, a couple years ago, right pre-pandemic, right around the pandemic, you had this one um go for 168.
Oh wow.
And you know, it's cool, you know, like it's very cool, the train
Hmm.
and um you know, kind of the detail, a lot more blacks than you know I'm used to seeing, but I you know, I put this one ahead of that, you know. And I'm not sure,
Hmm.
you know,
Well,
I don't know what the thought process is for when people bid on this stuff. I just know like, oh, this is the range, right? So we look at a range of like, let's say 70 to like whatever, 168. Um, yeah, I mean,
It's arousal and FOMO.
yeah,
I think that's what's going through their mind.
yeah. Well, and I love the conceit of the strip too. Is like I mean, they always have to end the same way, right? I mean, he always
Yeah.
has to wake up,
Yep.
and it's how they get him to that, how he gets them to that point where he wakes them up, is the journey that he takes them on. I guess is what grabs people, in each particular strip, and
yeah,
Hmm.
obviously, Jason, this one really grabbed you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all had that experience of having a super late dinner and just having crazy dreams, right? I mean, just like the wildest dreams. I just
Mine are
find
crazy
if
all
I
the
eat
time.
and drink, if I yeah.
I do not have. I have the craziest dreams all the time.
Well, that explains a lot about your art.
Yeah,
You're
probably
delirious. Troy, you're overworked and delirious. That's why.
Yeah, the mind that produced the emperor. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm more limited. I guess I need alcohol and steak to
To get everything going.
get my nocturnal creativity going.
Alcohol does it. Alcohol does it. All right, Troy. Jack Davis, Two Fisted Tail, 33.
That's it.
Yeah.
$4,000, eh? Wow.
Hmm.
So Jack Davis, I came into comics kind of in a bit of an odd way. I was reading obviously newspaper strips, but Mad Magazine and Tintin were sort of my first comics before I found any Marvel or DC stuff. And of course, Jack Davis resonated very huge in my childhood, and I love everything he does. You know, whether he's doing the horror stuff or the humor stuff, he could do no wrong in my eyes. And so, I would take a scribble on a napkin, you know, if he did it. And so, anytime something pops up, my heart always beats a little bit faster when I see his stuff, and I just think
How
he's
much
remarkable.
how much influence has he had on your style, would you say?
Um, that's the thing. So I wouldn't really pinpoint anyone specifically, style wise, but when I look at artists that get me excited creatively, it's more of an inspiration. It gets the
Mhm.
creative juices going rather than, um, oh, I like how Jack does this, or whatever it is, specifically about their work. But what I love about his stuff is just the texture in his work and the black, his spotting of blacks. Probably, like, so if I was to pick one thing, it is probably that he does a lot of feathering with his blacks. It's just not a big, like, Toast will just put a block of black in, without all the feathering on the edges. But if you like to zoom in on that first panel, you see all the black on the back of that soldier's coat, and there's a lot of feathering into the black. And I do a lot of that. So probably that more than anything. But I just really love the energy of his work. There's just a lot there, and like I said, whether he's doing comedic stuff like Mad Magazine, or he's doing horror stuff or action stuff like this. Like, he could do anything. That's what I love too. Is that there was nothing that sort of he'd shy away from, and
Yeah.
everything is always super dynamic. There's always sort of an edge to in every panel. Like, there's something is either happening or about to happen. And I really really love that in his work. Like, there's like this page is just moving, like everything's they're hiding, they're bullets are flying, he's running, it's just there's just a lot going on there in terms of creating a really dynamic page, and his storytelling is really great as well. I mean, I really love his EC stuff. It's just, obviously I didn't see that when I was a kid. I was reading Mad Magazine, but yeah, like, this is just wonderful. Like, I would, if I could pick anyone, or if I had to pick two artists, it would be Mobius and Jack Davis. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. There you go.
Yep, 4,000.
yeah.
Seems reasonable. I don't know. For me, the disparity between, let's say, EC covers versus interiors is so huge. It's like, I can't believe it. So yeah, I mean, look at these cover prices, and some of these are probably, a lot of these are out of date. And so if they
Yeah.
weren't now, there would be some multiple of this. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you look at this cover from 2016 at 70,000, and then from 2022 you have a 7-page story at 50,000, it's kind of just like, mind-boggling, the gap, and so
well, and they did such a hard sell with those covers. Like they really put like they were really pushing boundaries with those covers, and I don't know if they reused the imagery a lot or not, but they just really seemed to stand out, especially for anyone of a particular age. It's just those covers, like, and I think they represent, something sort of forbidden, like they weren't supposed to have this. And it's those covers that they would see rather than going inside. Those covers just sort of, I think, encapsulate like all of that idea that it's like I wasn't supposed to have any of this. It's like when I bought Fangoria magazine and I would sort of hide it in my room. It's probably the same idea.
Yeah, that's true. And but we're talking 70 years ago. At what point, like, do people, I don't know, age out, and then like, do young people, feel like it's important? I don't know. EC staying strong. I don't know. From my perspective, I'm a huge fan. I think some of the greatest artists of all time obviously worked, on those books, including Jack Davis. Yeah, but it's pretty amazing.
But I mean, is anyone doing artwork like this now? Like, I can't think of anyone that's sort of tapping into that same energy that he did. Like, I mean, his stuff is so unmistakable to me. It's just you look at it and it's his.
Actually, that's a good point and good question. I think about that all the time these days, Troy. Like, there's energy, but then there's kind of like incredible technical skill combined, right? And yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of creators with that energy these days, but not all of them have like the technical chops that it feels like a long time ago, 20th century, like that was important, right? Kind of like the figure workability, just a lot of the various aspects to kind of laying out panels and detail and things like that. I don't know, right? But
they're probably coming from a tradition that was more tied into like commercial illustration, right? And then maybe they sidetracked into comics, versus like the guys in the 70s or something like that who were just like, oh, I'm just slinging out pages. But today, I think Troy, correct me if I'm wrong, like Vinegar Teeth, you can see some of that sensibility, like just, I don't know, just something about the figures, the hands,
I think that actually, that's a good comparison. There. Yeah, I think because I did sort of go more cartoony with that, and I wasn't really looking at anyone at the time, but there's definitely some of him in there for sure.
Like you absorbed so much stuff that, and then like Dan Panosian, he's like a big Jack influence, right? And then Scotty Young also, I think, is like likes Davis quite a bit.
Yeah, you can see that in Scotty's too, Scotty's stuff too, for sure.
Yeah,
Scotty's awesome because, I mean, for one, he's a super nice guy, but you look at the success he's had, and like you look at his work, and it's just incredible that he has hit on as many people as he has. It makes me really happy that he has, because you look at his work and you wouldn't necessarily say, oh yeah, like this guy's one of the biggest names in comics, but he is.
You see his line at a convention. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh,
it stretches to infinity. Yeah, pretty amazing.
But you're right. You can see a lot of Davis and Dan's work. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yeah. Just when you said that, I was like, oh man, like light bulb went off. As far as his kind of brushwork,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the art, that boxing story set in Vegas that he did. What was the name of that book, that Panosian did?
Oh, not the Fixer. What was it? I know which one you're talking about,
You know
though.
what I'm talking about, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the art was just amazing in that, also, also a fun story. Okay.
All right, I forgot who chose this. Oh, this is
That was me. That was me.
Carl Barks.
Yes. Yes.
We're
Carl
just
Barks.
going through the masters today.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are.
I mean, just amazing. And so I was talking to a friend, Oystein, who may be watching. He said he's a fan of the show, actually. So I
Oh
threw this
wow.
on for in honor of him. But he was telling me how a lot of this Karl Barks art got destroyed. So
Oh.
there are not that many examples of this. And I mean, just look at this guy's brushwork. I mean,
Oh,
shoot,
yeah.
that silhouette. I mean, and he's drawing fast. He's not like noodling or taking time over this.
No.
He's just throwing it down. Just that talent to just sort of see it and vary the line weight like he does and have that motion and that action. It's just awesome. It's just an awesome page.
Well, and
So
his ability of knowing where to spot blacks just to help, um,
yeah,
focus like attention to draw attention
no,
to
good
where you need
point.
to be looking. So, yeah.
Yeah, like the shadow where he places the shadow on
Mhm.
underneath, the ducks that sort of re-emphasizes, hey, look over here, right?
Mhm.
Or the way the silhouette is in the middle, and then you've got the grass silhouetted there,
Yeah,
just it's
beautiful.
definitely it could be just like an abstract composition that you could throw down and it'd just be visually appealing to look at, even if there was nothing happening in it. But it helps frame it. Yeah, good observation. Yeah, I just love it. So I just threw that out there for my buddy Oystein, and just thought it was kind of cool, especially in light of all those Don Rosa pages going off, right?
Oh yeah.
This is Carl Barks, the original flavor.
Yeah,
Um,
I got the Carl Barks Jubilee collection or whatever from Fantagraphics, like oversized,
oh,
that
nice.
I need to dig into.
Yeah, my son loves both the Karl Barks and the Don Roses, and I remember like I used to love reading those back in the day. It's just a lot
Well,
of fun,
that's awesome.
Get him a page.
a lot of fun.
Get him a page, yo.
No,
What do you mean? It's only 29 grand.
is
Half
that in
a year of
yen?
college
If it's in
tuition, yo.
yen, there's a chance. Yeah, no, he's gonna have to make his own money and then make his own bad decisions in life
It's
on his own.
fantastic. I don't know what the market is for these. I mean, these are the paintings.
No thanks. Wow.
These are the paintings, but the pages, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's that one was like I think the pages have been stuck at this price for years. So if you go back, I remember I looked at it, and if you go back 10 years, 20 years, they're kind of in this 20 to 30 to 40 range, depending on like how cool, whatever cool thing is happening in it. I just think it kind of kind of froze in price. But
Those
they're
are
they're
master.
beautiful. They're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, talk about owning something from a master.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
like that would be really cool.
And
Yeah,
didn't
they
he sort of
seem.
start doing his paintings sort of after the
I
fact? Like,
I believe so. That's what I hear.
yeah,
That Disney basically gave him
No.
permission to, you know,
yeah, to
do his
basically
kind
make
of own
money.
thing.
Yeah.
I'd
Where are
rather
they?
have the page on my wall versus the painting, but that's just me.
Mhm.
All right, let me
No,
take a look.
I agree. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 70s. So 70s for all these
Okay.
paintings. 70s and 80s.
Hmm.
Very cool. All right. Uh
Ooh.
Ant-Man Year 100. Paul Pope. a 4-page
Poe, who's
sequence.
Paul Poe?
4-page sequence.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So this is the opening 4-page sequence.
Mhm.
Batman's running away from these dogs. Jumps the building.
Oh,
Boom. This marker fade right here. Pretty
Yeah,
bad.
he's using some shitty pens there.
Yeah.
Crayola
Yeah.
black.
Really bad, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would be afraid that this would just disappear
Could
eventually.
you get it restored, or if
No.
you could get Paul to do it over or something?
The problem is it not only does it fade, but it bleeds a little.
Uh-huh.
So those lines, I don't know if you can, how close you can zoom into that, but yeah. See, they might be bleeding a bit. I know he uses a lot of different stuff
Mhm.
for his comics, but yeah, I'm such a I'm far too anal to use anything that wouldn't hold up.
Mhm.
Um, especially browning like that. I look at some of my old stuff. I did use some Zipatone back in the day, and you had good Zipatone and bad Zipatone, and the good
Yeah.
Zipatone is still black, and the bad stuff is just like yellow. It
Mhm.
looks horrible. But
Yeah.
that's still really cool though. A 4-page sequence. There's a guy who has a lot of energy in his work.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I actually was thinking about him today, and I mean, I for me, he's like modern equivalent of Kirby. Like when I look at like power and like just action, um, energy. Um, yeah, I don't know anyone else that kind of resembles Kirby, right? I mean, people have like there's like a lot of the manga kind of style of kind of action these days. But that's very different from like for me like Kirby motion and kind of like power. There's just kind of like this um solidity, right?
Yep.
To everything with Kirby, and like I feel like out of kind of most modern artists, I think Paul Pope comes pretty close, or as close as you can get, in a unique way.
There are not many like sequences in superhero comics that take my breath away. But when you're reading this for the first, when you're reading this and you're just following this action along the rooftop, I mean, I just feel breathless almost when it's happening. It's and I think Paul started out, he was, he's trained as a filmmaker. He used to make his own movies and stuff like that. It definitely shows in his work the way he thinks about things. I mean, look at these abstract, squiggly, Rottweilers. Just look at that. I mean, it's just
And he works
it
really large too, doesn't he?
looks
Yeah, these are
huge.
all
Yeah,
19 by
it looks
24.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just one of the greatest sequences ever. This page 3, I love this with Batman mirroring the dog. The image is like linked like that and just advancing, and then this setup, you just feel the precipice right there,
Oh yeah,
the way
I
he
think they're
drew it.
all fantastic pages, and like
Oh, and then the
most people
leap.
go, oh, okay, number one is the bulk of this
Right.
72,000.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, we talked about this, yo. Like,
Yeah.
you consider going after this, and I said to you, 50-50. Someone takes one, and someone takes two, three, four. And
Yeah.
so
I'm like, and I
Would you
was like
rock?
I was
Would you
like
rock paper
3.
scissors for that?
no, and I said I told yo, you can choose. You choose. You choose. I mean, at that point, my
Yeah,
estimate on final price was half this at the most, But
yeah. I chose 234,
Oh wow.
because it's I mean, the first splash is it's the first appearance of Paul Pope's Batman. It's this big, large, dynamic image. It kind of kicks it off. But for me, like the motion and on the 3 pages,
Hmm.
it's just like
yeah, I mean,
that's
yeah,
kind
it's
that's like
fantastic.
comics magic to me.
Look at it, man. This is it's like the 3 pages can stand alone,
Yeah,
and as their own sequence.
Yeah.
Um, is
it's
cinematic.
so beautiful.
Pope's just like fearless, just brush everywhere. That first page is obviously iconic and
Hmm.
flashy, and like people will like it and comment on it or whatever.
Yeah,
But as a fan of the artist of the work, I mean, you know, I like 2, 3, 4 too. If I had to choose,
yeah,
if I had to choose,
yeah.
It's funny because there's a panel in that sequence, that the middle panel there, that one. I'll send. I drew a page that is so similar in the Doom that came to God. I'm sure every artist that's drawn Batman has,
uh,
but there's one I did in the Doom that came to Gotham, and it's actually one of the page that I saved for myself
uh,
is this one, and it's exactly like that where Batman's just a little silhouette jumping between buildings.
So
But I
yeah,
think it's one all artists go to, you know.
I mean, it's visually arresting, it's
Mhm.
interesting, and the perspective, the distance, it's like
mhm.
the scale, right? Like who doesn't? I mean, even as a reader, who doesn't like looking at that?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, but
and so
72 grand. Um, congrats to the winner. Um,
no, it's epic.
yeah,
Congrats.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm a huge Pope fan, so I mean, I
yeah,
think it's worth it.
yeah. I love his architecture, his buildings. It's just so clearly
Oh
set
yeah,
in lower Manhattan. It's such a distinct
his
place.
work is so organic. There's just a real fluidity and rawness in the best way possible to his work. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but he's the guy that I get compared to the most, and we don't draw anything alike. I have no idea. I have no idea where it comes from
Yeah,
in at all. It's like, oh
right.
yeah, in this similar vein as Paul Pope. It's like, no, we don't draw anything alike.
Yeah, yeah. That's so funny.
I mean,
For
I can
one thing,
see if you
Paul,
mention that,
Paul
I can see it as far as kind of like, um, the uniqueness of your figures, right?
mm,
And like kind of the expressions in that sense, maybe not style necessarily,
no,
right?
yeah,
But
because Paul can draw super cute girls, and I do not draw super cute girls. I draw hideous monsters.
hey, super cute girl, easy money, easier money, Troy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, man. You raise your commission rates,
Uh,
Start drawing some cheesecake.
uh,
Uh,
it is a
well, I mean,
beauty. It is a beauty. That's
from what I know, I think Pope is an acquired taste too. It's not like everyone loves him. He is
no,
very
yeah.
polarizing. From my observation of comics readers. So, I mean, people either love him or they're like, "What the hell is this?"
yeah,
Yeah, like once again, I think he is one of those artists too that most other working artists really appreciate what he does.
All right, but Big Lot, surprising number. This was
not
surprising
I
number.
I
This
thought it
is
was
where we
going
say
big.
was
I thought
strong auction.
I thought it was going big.
I hope
Oh
Paul
yeah,
put those
oh
up
yeah.
himself.
Yo called this. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you called this number, but you called a strong number. And I said,
Yeah.
no, Pope is weak at heritage. And I was wrong. All right. Tezuka.
I love this. Yeah,
I didn't even notice this. There was a cover in that auction, and I didn't notice this piece.
There
Where?
was also wasn't there also a like a little lion prince
Oh
something
yes,
page? Yeah, I think so.
Leo something. You know
I love
the
Tezuka.
what they
I
based the
mean,
Lion King off of.
he's just the best, man.
So Troy,
Simba.
what attracted you to this?
Well, I'm a huge Tezuka fan. Like huge. I have a really nice Tezuka library going just over my right shoulder here, and always drawn to not only to his work but him as a mangaka, as a creator. um, there's I think it's a wonderful documentary on YouTube about him. Some people find it really miserable, uh, but he was so it was done a year before he died, so I don't know if he knew he was sick at that time or not, but he's just so driven to create. And but he's just such this sort of happy-go-lucky guy, but he's just so driven by the need to create pages and create animation. And he went through medical school. Like, this guy is uh, it's incredible what he was capable of doing. And um but specifically, just this piece is, and even though he has his back to us, we still know who he is immediately. And there's still a lot of tension, and the storytelling in just one image, I think, is really remarkable. And like, as Suzuka saw it, it just was like, oh my god, I didn't even think it was possible to get something from him.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it's a really wonderful color piece.
His stuff is the stuff that I I mean, manga wise and stuff out of Japan that that I see regularly. I mean, it's not like a tidal wave of material, but I don't know. This, I mean, maybe he was so prodigiously productive that just a little bit coming out seems like a lot, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, I feel like there's decent amount of Tezuka that comes out. I don't know, do you?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see it on Mandarake, which is that Japanese website, and there was this one of my favorite works, by him is, Dororo. I don't know if you
Yep.
ever
I
read
saw
that
the
yet.
anime.
It's oh gosh, it's so good. It's just I mean, the wealth of details in the background and just his storytelling ability and like a lot of manga, I don't really like reading that much, but
Mhm.
but Tezuka, I love reading. I mean, they're just fantastic reads, great stories. And there was this little sliver of a panel with Dororo on it, and not Dororo, it was the guy with the sword, so like the hero dude. And it didn't go for that much, but I couldn't figure out how to log into the Mandarake
Oh
website.
no.
Like, I've been looking for some it was like even like a sliver of a panel, just anything, and it didn't sell for that much. I was because it was
That's surprising. That's surprising. When I go on that site for actual art,
yeah.
like the shikishis, the
Mhm.
sketches, they go for insane numbers, man. Like
Yeah.
the Miura Berserk like head sketches.
Uh-huh.
There was one recently that went for
You're
like
dividing by 100,
50 grand.
right?
Yeah, they go for
Yeah.
like 30 to 50 grand,
Oh
and
my
like
Wow.
god.
it's like this.
Forget that. No, this
It's
was cheap,
crazy.
man. This one went for, I don't know, it was like a no, it went for really little, and I'm just
No,
an idiot, so I just
I guess you have to feed the beast elsewhere.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, Tezuka, beautiful.
Yeah.
Troy, good
Troy,
choice.
what are your favorite books by him?
Oh, geez, I like the really weird stuff that he does. What is what's the one I read a while back? It's the insect one. Um, if my phone would reach, I'd just grab it. Just a sec.
Yeah.
Oh, just a sec. The Jack Black stuff is good.
Yeah, they've been publishing all these random
Yeah,
uh
yeah. Oh, Under the Air is interesting.
really cool
Oh,
stuff.
geez, I'm blanking right now. I'm trying to. My eyesight isn't what it
Too
used to
much
be.
pressure.
It is.
Okay. We can go ahead and
Ode to Kirihito is really interesting. Oh,
Mhm.
there it is. Just a sec. The Book of Human Insects. That one is really trippy.
Oh man.
That
Cool.
one is super trippy.
I bet my comic store will have it. I've got a really cool local comic store near my house that kind of rekindled my love of comics
Oh, that's awesome.
many years ago. Yeah. Not many years ago, actually, but it just I was out of comics for a long time, and I just got back into it.
It
Yeah.
helps when you find a really good store because it kind of even happened to me. We moved from Vancouver to Calgary, where we are now,
Mhm.
and I didn't really have a good shop in Vancouver, and unfortunately, the store isn't here anymore in
Mm.
Calgary. But it was really well curated, and I actually became friends with the manager who worked there, and it was sort of all the Marvel and DC on one stuff, and then all the sort of oddball and quirky and indie stuff on the other, and lots of European stuff, lots of manga.
Oh
So
yeah.
it was great. It was great. You just pick a side,
Yeah.
and start going through the shelves, and it was just, and it was always nicely clean, and it was really bright, and yeah, it was just a great little spot, and it did kind of rekindle my interest in reading stuff again.
Yeah. Escape Pod Comics in Huntington, New York.
Ah, yes,
There's my plug.
Always good to
nice.
have a great shop near you that introduces you
Yeah.
to
I follow him.
new.
I follow him on Instagram.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Menachem. Yeah, he's great.
Yep. Yep.
All right. JR and
Yes.
the great Al Williamson with a Frank Miller story. Of course, Yo needs to put in some Frank Miller
Yeah,
related.
yeah. Whether he's writing it or he's drawing it.
These Man Without Fear pages are on like gigantic boards. I think they're like 15 by 22 or something like
Oh
that.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, John Romita Jr. is I think he was underrated for a long time. Just a great visual storyteller. And when you combine him with Al Williamson inks, I mean, it's just a perfect combination. Just the action, the flow, and this is like a really memorable sequence in the book where before he becomes Daredevil, he's out doing these missions. I mean, he's trying to get the fixer or something like that, and through his actions, he starts this fight, and this woman is killed, and they refer to this scene in flashback several times later in the story. So it's kind of like a key moment in the story, and just the little details that Romita Jr. will um, sprinkle in the backgrounds. Provides just a ton of visual interest. So uh, when I first saw his stuff when I was a kid, I didn't really like it that much, but it's definitely grown on me over time.
Yeah, and I'm a big JR fan, and this specifically this period of his work. Just it really, I wasn't seeing anything else like it, and once again, I was really drawn to his acting. I think that he really knows how to create characters interacting with one another that just seemed powerful when they're fighting and relaxed when they were relaxed, and just conversational wise, like just people being normal. And so he really pulls you into a story that way because he's kind of giving you everything.
Yeah.
And that's what you want at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
The inspired, I don't know, sequence and story from him. He really showed up for Frank. The origin of Daredevil.
Yeah, a lot of guys when they're working with Frank, they're like, okay, it's A game time.
Oh, yeah.
This is Mazzucchelli or Grandpa. They're like, okay, I'm working with Frank Miller. I gotta do my best work.
I think this is a fantastic sequence. The proto kind of Daredevil. Before he's really in action, and great deal for the buyer. Great deal for the buyer. He should be proud. He should be very proud. And he'll be, surprised to know that, yeah, these are huge boards. I mean, like, it's not like full bleed or anything, so the actual image areas, close to regular size, but these boards are like huge,
You would know, Jason. You've got a fantastic one.
Yeah. I had 2 pages. I sold one. I sold one of the early pages of like young Matt, kid Matt, goofing around. But
yeah, I just love Daredevil as a character. Daredevil and Batman, those are my dudes. I don't need superpowers. I just want.
Yeah, I was going to say you connect with the characters that don't have that. I guess Matt has the enhanced.
Yeah, that's true.
But beyond that, I mean, he's not he's not lifting cars over his head or anything.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I am drawn to Batman still too, because and I always wanted to see him being more of a detective, instead of doing these huge epic stories. I had this idea that I pitched to Bob Schreck when he was the Bat boss at DC, and basically you pick it up where Bruce Wayne has been in the costume for like a week. He hasn't taken it off. He has scruff. He has stains on him. There's something big that's happening to Gotham, but Batman is focused on finding this kidnapped boy because it's just gone into the psyche, and he's connected to a damaged young child, and he's being that detective, but being brutal at being a detective, and he's beating the crap out of thugs in back alleys trying to find this kid while there's this big huge threat going on by the Joker or whoever, and he's not paying any attention. He keeps ignoring the bat signal because he's just focused on finding this young boy, because it's just tapping into this unhealed portion of his subconscious.
That's phenomenal. How could they turn that down?
Obviously it didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta, take more risks, take more risks,
Yeah,
I wish I could.
I would want to read that. I would want to read that book. That would be a good one.
Well, because I always thought it's like, he's supposed to be a detective, and I mean, the whole other conversation is, he had a superpower in terms of his wealth. I mean, if he really wanted to, he could have created a super police force for Gotham and wiped out crime in every corner. But he's obviously a really damaged guy, and I think
never thought about that, man. He's got he's like a billionaire, right?
Yeah. He could have had a cop in every household if he wanted to.
Oh gosh.
And so tapping into this thing that why he puts on this costume to go out and do what he does, I just think that they're
oh yeah,
he's kind of damaged goods, right?
Oh yeah,
Definitely
sure.
damaged, man.
For sure.
Definitely damaged.
All right.
Wow.
Heir to the Empire, number 6 of 6. Matthew Lafray. I don't know.
Wow, pretty
I feel
fancy.
like this was pretty like big back in the day. Um
Han went on a diet.
yeah, different Han from earlier in the auction. But yeah, I mean, it's just the classic for me, classic cover. I did make
Yeah.
one bid on it, and yeah, I wasn't close.
Did you have this comic back in the day?
I can't remember. I probably read this series. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean the covers and the images were, I mean back then this was when like I think this book and like Timothy Zahn had, what were those damn books called? There was like this trilogy of books that were a sequel.
Mhm.
Was it Dark Empire or um I can't
You guys
remember the
keep
name.
chatting. I have to go get a different plug. I just noticed my phone is about to go.
Ah,
So I
okay.
gotta go get a
Okay.
plug. Just a sec. You
Uh,
guys continue. Sorry.
Anyway, yeah, Timothy Zahn had like this trilogy of novels,
Mhm.
that uh, discuss what happened after, like some like old Sith Lord, discovers Luke, and anyway, I loved all that kind of like continuation, um, that Zahn did, and then Dark
Mhm.
Horse did, and
Mm.
it got all wiped out now after
Yeah.
Marvel bought
Hmm.
Lucasfilms, but they continue to reprint them in like the Legends
Hmm.
format.
Can you
Uh,
zoom in on Han's hand with the blaster? I just wanna I'm just curious as to how he did this. Yeah. So, Troy, when you look at this, how do you think he did this, if you had to guess?
Okay, if I disappear, you'll know why. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think my computer actually totally shit the bed. So
Oh,
that's
no.
oh,
That's too bad,
yeah.
man.
I'm getting this spinning wheel of death over an Adobe Creative Cloud message, and it's just not good. So
oh
anyway,
man.
So, Troy, if you look at Han's hand, like, close up on this, how do you think he did this? How do you think the artist drew this?
what do you mean? Well,
Just the
that's weird.
technique.
That's
Like, is it like a pencil
oh
over
yeah, he would yeah,
watercolor?
because he's sort of working like the Drew Struzan style. So lots of pencil crayon.
Uh-huh.
Ah,
Yeah, so he'd be using pencil crayon and and acrylic paints and just lots of different medium. But definitely that would be my guess
Okay.
is pencil crayon. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
yeah, fantastic cover. Went way more than I would be willing to pay, I think,
Yeah,
and
holy moly.
this was a stupid bid too. So
Is it for a novel or a comic or
yeah, it was a comic, a
wow.
miniseries, Heir to the Empire.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there's some Star Wars freaks out there, man.
That's for
Yep.
sure.
I guess was this the number one?
What? Number
What?
1 cover, 100 whoa.
This was 2021, 143,000.
Damn, son.
What?
Wow.
Oh, so this had like the Thrawn or whatever, and
Yeah.
maybe it was
I'm
the first.
tying this to the Silicon Valley Bank crash.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean 20. You just take out 2021 from like historical records because it's you know massive bubble pricing
Oh,
right there.
consignor probably massively disappointed.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean this is a better looking cover.
I think so
Oh,
too.
by far.
Like,
Yeah.
who's that weird dude in the back
Yeah.
with the face? I don't know who
Weird.
it is.
weird mouthed
Luke's got a
Luke.
firm grip on his saber.
Well, his
Yeah,
lightsaber is also twice as long as it should be.
yes,
Fully erect
yeah.
lightsaber.
He has a strong grip on that lightsaber. All right. Anyway, another one.
Okay, it's getting late.
Okay, another legend in the mix. Bernie writes in Swamp Thing.
Yes.
You know,
Bernie is another legend to
Wow.
me, and I just really love this era of his work. It just he was just doing his own thing, and so much mood in his work. It's just
it's
such a wonderful
fantastic.
thing to behold. Yeah, yeah,
No Swamp Thing, but who cares?
Great pull.
yeah.
Bernie writes in.
Yeah.
Great call on this one.
And I'm actually about to do a video, one of upcoming video on the new Absolute Swamp Thing.
Oh, cool.
Ween writes in Swamp Thing, which was the coloring was remastered, not recolored, remastered by Jose Villarrubia, who is doing the same with the Corbin collections coming out of Dark Horse, and so he's trying to achieve like maximum fidelity with the original, um, but updating them to kind of a modern format, as
That's very
opposed
cool.
to what happened with like the Absolute Saga of the Swamp Thing, the Alan Moore Swamp Thing, where it was someone, I don't know who, but they recolored it totally and just totally destroyed all the line work basically because the colorist decided to render the crap out of everything. So yeah, I'm glad that that the absolute first that it's being collected in absolute format to show off Wrightson's artwork, but then that DC decided to have like a master colorist preserve and I don't know what's the word, really conserve, I guess, the original colors.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be respectful of what it was, and because you see a lot of times that artists, and not that artists at that time um, were working, and leaving stuff up to colorists per se, but they knew the limitations of color, I guess is what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
they worked towards, to the limitations of what was going to be added after. And so you see a lot of updating of colors of old books, of old art, and it looks horrendous. And so it's nice to hear that they're honoring. That's the word that I
Yes.
5,000 words to get to the word that I wanted, but
Yes.
um,
Same here.
yeah.
Same here. But yeah, we'll go through that in a video. But yeah, I mean, Wrightson,
Can you zoom in on that skinny central panel? I just want to see like the face.
So creepy.
Yeah, man.
Just like wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love it. And he's apparently, I never met him, but apparently he was the sweetest guy. Like he was such a nice man, and died far too young. And I could have met him. I could have met him and Will Eisner at San Diego, but I just was too chicken to approach them. Not at the same time, at different times, and I regret that decision, both those decisions. And but yeah, like everyone that knew Bernie was like, oh, he was just a real sweet guy, and just was an incredible artist. And I mean, you look at like what his Frankenstein images go for is just
I believe
unbelievable.
Was there a Frankenstein plate in this auction?
I thought it was just a signed book. I thought it was just a signed book, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. It might have been a last auction.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it was last auction, and then the upcoming April auction. There's two more, I think, or one or two more. There's like two last auction and two coming up. So they didn't want to put them in the international.
I saw a few of them live in real life, and it just blew me away.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, one of my buddies has one, and I was with him this weekend, and I saw it in person. It's amazing,
Oh
Amazing.
man,
amazing.
yeah.
I sold one. I sold unpublished one.
You what?
I had one, yeah.
Oh man.
Paper hands.
You know, it was just like it was
You
because
have
I
do you have
thought,
a scan of it?
yeah, I do. I'll send you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm very curious because I didn't know that. Guy, you think they would have just published them all? Did
Yeah.
did, did he
It was
make that
published in
decision?
like the Lost Frankenstein
Ah,
pages.
okay.
Yeah. So
Wow,
yeah,
I didn't know that. Oh, I'm
I
intrigued.
sold it with a thought of future upgrade, but that has
Yeah.
yet to happen. So all right, last piece. I won this one. Alex
Oh, hey.
Munoz,
Hey,
House of Mystery, number 245. Ending splash here. And I don't know what's going on. Is this crayon or what here?
I can't see because I'm on my phone. It might be a tone. Like it might be no, you know what? I can't tell.
It feels like it's I don't know if it's
That is
crayon
tone.
or yeah, I don't
No,
know.
you know, it feels like it was a texture that they then went in uh, and printed it like at a as like a half tone. I don't know. That's trippy.
But
Jason, could you zoom in and just stay there on on one of those? Yeah, just like just yeah. Huh.
Yeah, you know what? I think it is. I think it's a tone. I guess you'll find out when you get it.
Yeah.
I will. This was a page I've been after. It was on CAF because this is a story. Well, there's multiple Nino horror DC horror stories I'm trying to put together.
Oh, okay.
And this is one of them. And a couple of years ago, I probably made an offer on this, and the guy's like, "I want more," and I'm like, "I offered you more than market, sorry."
Hmm.
And then he put up all his Nino in this auction, and I won it for a lot less than what I offered back then.
Joke's on
So
him.
This is a
yeah,
lesson
one.
to anyone holding art that Jason wants. And he makes you an offer. You should
That's right.
sell. You should
I
sell.
mean, my offers was not as good as YoKuri kind of offer, but it was competitive. It was like, yeah, I'm like, hey, this is the best you're gonna get, if you're ever gonna move it. And uh, he didn't. He put them all up, and I'm pretty sure he's not thrilled with the results. And so,
So
it,
satisfying for you, though.
yeah, I'm
Oh
not.
my
You know what?
goodness.
You know
Oh
what?
my
Like, I'm
goodness. You
happy to be
saved
one
money
step closer
by
to
being.
completing this story.
Mhm.
Um,
How
I
many
think
pages is it?
I think it's like it's 7. It's
Okay.
7, 6 or 7, and I have half. 3 or
Uh,
4. So
what a
it's like
fun
I'm
project
close.
though. That's awesome.
Yeah. There is another story that's a 20-page horror story, which
Oh.
is long for one of these uh the House of Mystery or whatever, that I have
Hmm.
19 pages, and I know where the one page is, and I keep asking the guy, and I think he's pretty tired of me after like me messaging him once a year, every year.
Oh, you're like a bulldog.
He
You
stopped
don't leave
responding.
him alone.
He stopped responding.
Oh.
So
He's
hopefully
just gonna
one
mail
day,
it to you.
maybe he'll just put it up at Heritage, and I'll luck out. But yeah, I'm happy to get it, and you know, I mean, I'm happy that Nino goes for what feels like so cheap to me for who he is. Um,
Hmm.
I,
Now,
I
did you read this story when you were younger? Is that why
no,
it's about?
no, this is 19. I was before I was born, so
Well,
um,
I can't see. I'm like I said. I'm looking at a tiny screen on my phone. When was
1976,
it published?
and
Oh,
most
okay.
and all of his that horror stuff was in the 70s for that he
Yeah.
did. Um, this after I grew up, and reading through the these horror books, and it only takes you going through a few issues with him in it to go, this guy's different from every single other artist
Yeah.
in this book, and yeah, I always found his work to be just incredibly unique and visionary, and it's a shame, he was relegated to the DC horror. He did great work at Warren too, but I just feel like the big two back then had no clue, and
What to
didn't
do with them?
realize what they
Yeah.
had. If they were a
Yeah.
little bit more forward thinking, things could be different. Like, I wonder to myself even later on, like, hey, what if Neil Gaiman was like, hey, why don't we get like Alex Nino on Sandman for
Oh, that would have been
one arc,
crazy.
right?
That
Yeah,
would have been
yeah.
awesome.
What would
Yeah.
that have been? Uh,
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
yeah, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
like, ah, you know, just amazing to me, legendary artist that is an artist doesn't really get his due, but as a collector, I guess I'm fine with that, because I
Yeah,
can
it's
I
great if
can rack up,
you love something that
pages.
nobody else is really, there aren't like zillions of people seeking it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's
yeah.
exactly what you
I
want.
mean, and there was a period. I mean, there is some big demand for some of his stuff, like his uh, Yo did me a huge solid and sent me a copy of Satan's Tears, which is long out of print, impossible to get, very expensive on the secondary market. And anyway, whenever pieces from that come up, like they command strong
Mhm.
numbers. Let's see if we have any here. Yeah, we're talking like you know mid four figures, right?
Hmm.
But some of these other kind of just single pages, depends on the auction, but they can go weaker like this. I think they got pumped up a little bit when like me and maybe one or two other people were going after them, but they've all kind of faded away. I am the only survivor continuing to buy. Yeah.
Yo, who's an artist who you really like to collect that not a lot of other people are really aware of, and you just feel kind of lucky that you're able to get pieces from them at an affordable price? Is there anyone like that?
Oh gosh.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking definitely, definitely, in vintage, unfortunately, my taste tends to run toward Miller. But
Mhm.
there are plenty of modern artists today that are incredible, um, the art is pretty reasonable. There's this guy, Troy Nixey, he's pretty good. And
He's not half bad.
yeah, but no, yeah, no, like Matt Wisniewski, I think is
Yeah.
awesome. And his work is pretty affordable. A lot of it is like if like somebody gets on a big two book, then all of a sudden their market
Yeah.
blows up, gets stronger, right?
Is
So
that what happened for Daniel, or was he sort of on that ascending path anyway?
yeah, I think that's a lot to do with it, right? Because like I think Murder Falcon and Extremity and Murder Falcon, even yeah, like Murder Falcon is probably my favorite of all of his works,
Hmm.
just because I tend to like the ones that are the most personal for people, so like Paul Pope, I like 100%.
Yeah.
Like Daniel's work, I like Murder, something where the artist invests something of themselves into it, right? Yeah, the Wonder Woman was kind of when more people
I
learned
mean,
about it,
yeah,
and it took off. Wouldn't you say, Jay? Do you think that's
I
correct?
mean, there's no doubt about the fact that there's a huge comics readership portion of comics readership that only reads big two,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they don't know who you are if you do not do anything with
Hmm.
big two, and so like from my perspective, like Extremity with Daniel, Extremity, Murder Falcon, like I was already a fan, right? I didn't need him to do Wonder Woman or Beta Ray Bill, But yeah, I mean, him doing those really, I think, combined. I mean, it's a combination, I think, of things like the commissions getting a lot of eyes on social media. Then people read uh, Wonder Woman or Beta Ray Bill, and then find his indie stuff. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
what ended up like kind of exploding him. And then with Power Bomb, I mean, he hasn't swung and missed, right? Yet, right? And not knock on wood, right, for him. But
Yeah.
um, you know, yeah, I mean, that's my take. This is just purely off of watching like YouTube channels and things like that. Is there was people that um, had no idea who he was till he did Wonder Woman,
Hmm.
or till they read Beta Ray Bill if they were just Marvel heads,
Yeah, I would agree with
and
that.
then once they read that, they were open to, oh, okay, what's Murder Falcon, what's um, do a power bomb,
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, and a lot of those people they won't buy anything unless it's like a hardcover, nice hardcover, whatever, and so some of them
Yeah.
will be
Yeah.
produced when Murder Falcon comes out in some deluxe edition,
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
so I mean, I think there's lots of kind of pockets, right, of readership that it adds up, and so
Yeah.
um,
Does
Well, in
Steve
trad,
Wood I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, well, in trad's interesting because he's doing Doctor Strange now. Is he still doing that? Um,
did it end yet, or
Yeah, it did,
I'm
it
not.
did. Yeah,
Okay.
the 4 issues are out, yeah.
Oh, okay. But he sort of was ascended before then he did like the Marvel stuff. So I don't know. Like it's just because I'm a huge Trad Moore fan, and
Mhm.
so his career path. Selfishly, I would just him rather do his own thing rather than having to do Marvel stuff. But um, it's just like he's someone that draws like no one else. Like he's really excuse me pushed his work to a place, like I said, that no one is even near him, and it's remarkable seeing, what he does, and
Yeah, and
and
I'm a
he's
huge
he's
Strode fan. I mean, that's my favorite work from him. Luther Strode, and
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean, since then he's basically only done big two, right, like
I guess, yeah.
Ghost
Oh,
Rider,
that's yeah,
for Doctor
Silver
Strange.
Surfer, yeah,
yeah, he loves those characters. I mean, I think he loves some of those characters. I don't know that he necessarily loved Ghost Rider, but he took on drawing cars as a challenge.
sure
But
did.
he's always I think to each project he tries to bring something a little bit new. He's
Hmm.
continually evolving his style, so it's not like like a guy like John Byrne, who basically figured out a way to draw pretty
Yeah,
much the same way like the entire career. He's willing to take chances and deviate from that and take it in wild new directions. I love that Strode period. I mean, for me, like he kind of hit that sweet spot like the last couple of issues of Legend and then into Legacy,
yeah.
where like the character acting was just ridiculous. In
Well,
addition to the virtuosity, and he was damn near killing himself drawing like every little chip of stone, that would
yeah,
come off of a
that was
powerful,
remarkable. But
powerful
just
move. Yeah.
seeing his growth from the first book to the last
Oh yeah,
book
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I've never seen anything like that.
It's
Mhm.
It's just
amazing because that's why I love Strode. It's because it's a level up manga, basically,
yeah,
where, Luther is gaining in power, and at the same time as Luther is gaining in power, Trad is gaining in power at the same time.
it's
So
so
it's like
true.
manifesting that story is like one with the artist's growth. So I just think that, I mean, that to me, it's just totally awesome.
Phenomenal,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Oh
And
yeah,
and the same thing applies. Like some trad fans have never read Luther Strode. They've only read Silver Surfer, and now
Yeah.
maybe Doctor Strange, and hopefully they go back,
Yeah. Well, he did that miniseries for Image that is horribly written. I couldn't
New
actually read
World,
it.
New World.
Oh, yeah.
It felt
Oh.
like it ended abruptly.
Well, it's one of those things where the writer's just like, I'm just going to write what we're doing. I'm going to walk over here and fix this up. It's just like there's just no excuse for that. Trad does not need that kind of writing for his work, And so I struggled to read the words, but I looked at all the beautiful pictures.
The club scene, that club scene was amazing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But
amazing.
and the same with the Silver Surfer book. The writing, me. The art, incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean that's why for me the Strode was it's the ultimate package,
Oh yeah,
Total
great
package.
writing there. Yeah.
Total package.
Yeah. No, but Troy, to your point, that's the holy grail. You're like looking for the artist that's sort of unappreciated by everyone, before they get super appreciated. I don't know for vintage if Steve Rude counts, but I mean he's a guy that I just love his work in Nexus, and it's like this, it's this period where he had gained proficiency, but then he hadn't sort of just I guess got tired by the project maybe, and just you tend to fall into like a certain slickness when you just become so
Yeah.
proficient, like it's just almost not even like thinking. I like that in between period where like they're not still figuring things, not learning how to draw figures, but like when it, at this, I think it's like a magical 20 issue run where he's
Yeah.
engaged, and it might be like issues 10 to 30. I'm just making it up, but
Yeah.
that period for me. So I managed to snag 3 pages from that, and they weren't like terribly expensive, and
You know who I feel like was that way, but now is gaining more recognition with time is Garcia Lopez, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
oh yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I think
interesting.
he's just gaining a lot of momentum. I mean, his past work, right, is just
Yeah.
appreciated more and more as time passes.
He's a
And
killer.
someone else that I think needs
Dr.
more
Strange
attention.
Fate. Dr. Strange Fate is working.
Yeah,
This is an inside joke.
artist behind Doctor
yeah.
Strange Fate.
Strange Fate.
And
Jason
then
teases me about this. I bought this page. You shouldn't buy art when you're on a golf course. So I think it was like I was like at the halfway house. I was eating a hot dog and a beer, and yeah, I bought this very impulsively. Bought this page, so Jason like mercilessly teases me. I was like, yeah, but it was Garcia Lopez with Nolan inks, and it's beautiful. And by the way, it's the first appearance of Doctor Strange Fate. Yeah, so
the combination of Doctor Strange and Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate.
Strange Fate.
Dr. Fate. It's the merger of the Marvel universe and the DC universe. Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's getting more and more recognized. I mean, at least from our collecting perspective. And
what made that? Because he's a consummate like professional. Like he's an amazing guy can just flat out draw.
Yeah.
So what sort of brought him to everybody's attention? Was it?
I don't know if it's attention. It's like everyone's aware, but it's kind of like I don't know. Like there are artists that are there that everyone appreciates, but maybe there's no urgency. There's not like an urgency to buy their art, right?
Yeah.
That's more what I'm talking about. Like not necessarily more appreciation. It might not be more appreciation. It might be the same level of appreciation, but more of an urgency to have.
Is he still working?
Right?
Is he still working?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think he must be a little bit.
Yeah, because we're not allowed to retire. We don't make enough money to.
But another guy that I think is well, he's not working anymore. He's passed, but that that is way under the radar, that doesn't get like the recognition he deserves, is Eduardo Barreto.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, and another person that I guess, I mean, he's had runs on some things, but he's not well known necessarily for those runs. There are other artists that are more well known for runs on, let's say, The Shadow or Teen Titans. It's overshadowed by George Perez on Teen Titans and
Yeah.
Whoever on The Shadow. But he's had runs on Batman and those other books that I think artistically, visually, they're fantastic. And
I've got
Well, he's
and a ton of urgency, I think, from the collecting public.
Yeah, he's the torpedo guy, right?
No, that's
Eduardo
Jordy Burnett. That's
Jordy Burnett. Sorry.
Barreto is he followed up George Perez on New Teen Titans. And,
yes, okay, yes.
Yeah, and I think I mean, he had a decent run on DC's Shadow, and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've always appreciated his art, and yeah, I feel like he doesn't get a ton of acclaim,
Yeah, Eduardo Riso, he's great too. Doesn't get acclaim. He's so prolific, that there's so much supply of his art that
yeah. Well, he has a studio. I guess he has a bunch of assistants, so that's why he's so darn fast.
That's how he does it. There you go.
Old school.
Old school. Yeah.
He's like
I would say a lot of
the guys
he does
like eating, like sleeping on the floor and.
Yeah. That's right. Well, that's what's interesting. Back to the Tezuka documentary that's on YouTube, because he's got assistants as well, and he was famous for just people working in a big room together at one point. But in this, he has an apartment that's close to the studio, and no one's allowed to go in the apartment except for his wife, and so he has a runner that goes back and forth. But he can come down to the studio, and there's literally guys just like laying on benches waiting for pages to come in.
But only his wife is allowed to go up. Oh.
Yeah, only his wife is allowed to go up into this apartment, and it's because they broke the rule because they had to set up the cameras in his because he just works in this tiny little apartment, and he just sleeps on the floor when he needs to take a nap, and he listens to records, and he's just this affable guy, but he is just so driven, and you can see how hard he is to work for when he's dealing with the assistants, because they're just sort of shrinking away, and they're very resistant to even make eye contact, it seems. So
the culture.
Yeah, it's something.
I'm sure like Miyazaki is similar,
yeah. I love him, and there's a couple. I'll send you guys a link. There's this 4-part documentary series that came out on NHK, and it says he's working towards starting Ponyo. And I can't remember if it's the first documentary on him I saw or not, but I mean, he is when he's gearing up to begin work, he is miserable. Like, he is just impossible to be around. And weirdly, it made me like him more, knowing that he struggles, because I think he's a master storyteller. I think there's very few people who have been able to do what he does. And knowing that he struggles with anxiety and fear of failure at his age, having done what he's done, actually validated, what I feel like when I'm working too, where it's like you wake up and it's like, okay, am I an imposter today, or actually can I draw? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Actually, there's a documentary
on
Amazon Prime. I think it's on Amazon Prime of Hideaki Anno on him trying to finish off Evangelion. Actually, they kind of did a run of movies after that.
Yeah.
And the last movie took like, I don't know, 7-8 years, I think, to actually come out, because he was struggling with like what he wanted to do, and
Oh man.
it's just them following him around with his like studio and assistants, and like his assistants are asking him what, and he's just constantly just telling him this is not it, and like it's like kind of like gut-wrenching watching, like this is crazy, for years, right? They're going through this
Yeah.
to complete this movie. And so
I don't know if you saw, there was this great little soundbite that I had put on my Instagram story of him, because he worked for Miyazaki back in the
Yeah.
day. He was an animator on
I saw that you posted on your Instagram.
Yeah. And so everyone was commending him for this brilliant shot he did of the I can't remember what they're called, but the big creature as it melts, and he considers it a complete failure because he thought it should have been 7 frames instead of 5.
Yeah.
And so,
Crazy.
2 more. He wanted 2 more frames, and Miyazaki wouldn't allow him the 2 frames, and so he considers it a failure instead of a success. So he doesn't like to be praised for that stuff.
He didn't hold his ground. He sacrificed.
Yeah. but he also does the the voice of the lead character in The Wind Rises. So it all comes back around, right? Yeah. I'm a big Miyazaki guy. I love Miyazaki.
Awesome.
Yeah. We've probably watched Kiki like 100 times because my 2-year-old daughter loves it.
I saw Princess Mononoke in the theater like a year ago. For the first time. I'd never seen it, and I was just
wow.
just blown away by it.
Yeah. He's just
actually they have what pissed me off is they have the whole Studio Ghibli whatever on one of the streaming. I think it might be HBO Max, but
we have it on Netflix.
It's all dubbed.
Oh, that sucks.
There is no
I can't do it.
Like how is it possible?
No.
Yeah, so we have it on Netflix here, but we just watch it in the original.
Yeah, I mean
recording.
I can't watch any dubbed. Yeah.
No, and it's really bad too. It's not like it's passable. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Yeesh. Yeah. Sacrilege.
All right. Well, that was a great auction talk. Then we, finish off with a nice conversation. Troy, great to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you. And if you ever invite me back, I'll be more professional next time and have all my technology working.
This is not a professional show, so don't worry. This is not a professional show.
It's just a bunch of guys, talking about art.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
But we'd love to have you back, and of course I'd love to have you on the channel, at other times to talk more about your art, because I'm a huge fan, and kind of you pick your brain on kind of what you would like to do. I know we kind of glossed over it with like Daniel and some of the big two.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really be curious, like what you'd like to do, in the future, as far as your creations, your vision, and so I mean, I find
that would be amazing, Jay. You guys got to do that. You guys got to do.
It'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
And if I may be so bold, I recently read the manga adaptation of the Lovecraft At the Mountains of Madness.
How was it?
It was very good. But a lot of the manga, they're tiny size, and so I'm not sure if the size of the pages limited kind of the detail, or because mangaka work smaller, he didn't draw it with quite as much detail. I know it's gotten a lot of acclaim, but reading the thing, the whole time I was thinking, like, it's great that he took this on, because when you read the book, like the detail that Lovecraft describes everything is like, I couldn't really imagine it, but then when I'm reading the book, the only thought that crossed my mind is, I wonder what this would look like if Troy didn't adaptation of this book. I feel like it would look much better and just be way more intense. I don't know why.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I love it. I love it's. I disappoint people when they meet me because they think that I must be some brooding maniac, and then I'm just some kind of goofy guy who talks a lot. You should smile at for a guy who must be miserable. No, I'm fine. Thanks.
One of the great guys of the industry, and so it's a
Well,
pleasure
thank
to
you.
know you, Troy, and
Yes,
pleasure to have been able to get closer to you. So thank you very
yes,
much.
absolutely. And I look forward to doing it again.
Awesome.
Right.
We
Sounds
will
Okay.
do it again. Okay. Yo, thanks again as
Yeah.
always. Congrats on all your art buying, nonstop art buying, and continue to keep it up. Continue to carry the torch. Uh, yeah, and hopefully we'll be back pretty soon. There's another auction next in less than 30 days, so we'll see. Okay. But yeah, thank
Never
you everyone
ends.
for watching. Okay.
all right.
Bye.
Thanks.